Warning, this is what writing does to your hair. Oh, even afterwards. Hello, I'm Sam and I am a pineapple. Look what's going on there. Oh my goodness. I'm a writer, I'm writing a book at the moment and I wanted to take you on that journey with me as I race to the midpoint. I had the plan to write over the course of 4 days. This is me documenting that plan as I try and push to get to this midpoint before the end of August, or as I didn't realise at the time, before the last week of August. I genuinely am so baffled at my lack of understanding when it comes to dates and times, because I genuinely thought this was the last week of August and that October didn't exist in my last video, which is crazy. So yeah, enjoy. Thursday I began my journey by looking at how rainy it was and then pushing through with a bit of writing for the previous chapter to the midpoint. I'd already started it and I was about a quarter of the way through, but then I realised something. So I've just taken a pause from writing to look at the chapter plan, and I think I've decided that I'm going to split this chapter in two because there's so much going on. I feel like it won't have room to breathe if I try and cram it all into my 2,000 word limit chapter structure, which I purely use to stay focused and not go on big tangents. So I'm going to do that, but in doing that, it's going to move the midpoint of the book. It's no longer the middle chapter. It wasn't already. It's already been shuffled a bit, but it's going to be shuffled even further back. So I'm going to pick a new midpoint actually, which seems crazy this late in the game, but it is a scene which is still quite important. It's sort of like one of the first scenes I had in my head for the book, which are these mermaids and humans having a drink in a field and getting to know each other. And it's not as impactful as the midpoint for like changing the flow of the story, because the actual midpoint is all the secrets of the Mirror Sky being revealed. But I do still feel like it works to show things are changing, that it's no longer the mermaids get into the human world, which has been basically the first half of the book, is them figuring that out, deciding should we go in there, meeting them. We've done all that. So actually, yeah, I quite like this scene being the midpoint because it shows that from now on it's going to be what happens in this human world when all things are revealed. How are these new relationships tested? Are there going to be any fights? Like, how do they coexist when the murky past is revealed? So yeah, I've just convinced myself of that. And it just shows that even this late in the game, you are going to make big changes and swings with your story, and you just kind of have to roll with it and not be as rigid as I have been with my structure in the past. I just wanted to share that with you to get it off my chest and get back into writing. And we did just that. I split what was chapter 13 into chapter 13 and 14 and pushed to the end of number 13 before the end of Thursday. Friday, we open with a real decent bit of writing. I've not really been keeping notes of where I was up to for each day, so I've had to go into the document and look up the different versions just to be accurate. But we did actually start writing chapter 14 on Thursday, and we got a decent chunk of the way through before I realised that the slight problem I had where the midpoint had been moved could be amended by a chapter overhaul slightly later on. Same outfit, different day. I went out to watch Spider-Man again. Sue me, it's so good. I have managed to condense the next two chapters into one in my chapter plan, which means that this midpoint is exactly the middle chapter. It's not the original midpoint, but it is this nice new one. I think I can get at least halfway through the midpoint chapter, which is technically the exact middle of the book, by the end of this week. I am out most of the day tomorrow, but I'm going to try and squeeze in a bit of writing in the morning and then a little bit on Sunday. So we're making progress, and obviously I do have this additional week that I didn't realise I had in August that I can use as a buffer, although I'd really love to move past the midpoint and into some of the juicier chapters in the second half, so we'll see how we go. Saturday, I was worried about timing, but I did actually manage to complete chapter 14. It was not as hard as I thought because of a little tactic that I did to make things a bit easier that I would really recommend you do, and I'm going to explain with past me right about now. I've been writing since last night. That's a lie. I'm just in the same t-shirt because I like this t-shirt. And I wanted to come on here and just let you know of a tactic that I've been using that's helped me massively with writing this draft, which is borrowing from previous drafts. and just editing, because the structure of the story remains somewhat the same. So I have been able to use my previous drafts as kind of padding for certain areas where I'm not sure what would happen. I'm like, oh, there's this great moment from a previous draft, I'll just chuck that in here. And it's really helped my writing process to have this rough piece to refer back to. So it just goes to show that your first draft does not need to be perfect, but you're probably going to use it anyway, because there's a lot of stuff in there that as you're just going through and telling yourself the story, that you might forget when you're doing that again. So yeah, I've been cherry picking things from that draft and the one after it as well, which has really helped me massively get to where I am now. And oh, Sunday, I regret nothing. It's Sunday now. I am going to try and push through and get to the mid of this midpoint as well as I can. I've got a plan for everything that's going to happen in that chapter, and I've worked out exactly what the exact midpoint of the book is, which is interesting as well, that's the exact midpoint. It's them going to this field to have a party with the humans, because the first half of the book is about them getting to the human world and meeting them and then finding out they can stay there. Now the second half is going to be about what the secrets that tie them together do to that new relationship. And it's quite difficult and tragic at points, but this is the cozy moment of the book. This is where they get to bond, they get to have fun, learn about each other, but it is also the beginning of the end in some ways. There is a hopeful ending to the story, but it all changes after this moment. So this is like a really nice moment before things change, so that's going to be interesting. So yeah, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write up to that bit as much as I can do, and we'll see how we do. So how did I do? I wrote for 4 days and I managed 2 chapters. The third chapter was a lot of pressure to put on myself on the day where I wasn't feeling very good, where I was properly under the weather, Sunday. So I wrote the same paragraph over and over again for ages. And then I decided to do a bullet point list of every moment in that chapter to have an easier roadmap for when I was feeling a bit better. And we all have days like that, so I think that's fine. But yeah, I've worked out that in September, I am going to be able to do this if I can keep this momentum going. If I can do a chapter every 2 days, I actually have a few days I can use as buffer, so I can't fail. That's bad. I didn't say that. What I'm saying is I can fail a little bit, because I have these days for buffer. I don't necessarily need to be smashing half a chapter every single day. I can have off days. I have found actually vlogging all of this has been really interesting, and I would encourage you to do the same when you're writing, as an accountability tracker, to say, oh, I did some writing today, here's my little montage I filmed of myself. But the difference I had is other people are going to see this, so I spent a lot of time getting the camera in the right place, sorting the lighting out, and being very conscious that people were going to see this, and that made it a little bit difficult. And I think with my next vlog, I'm not going to do that every day, because I want to write in the cracks as well. And when I've come back from a shift at work, I'm not always feeling my best, looking my best, and I just want to crack on and do some writing. So on those days, I'm not going to give myself the pressure to vlog that, but I will update you in little snippets like this, and fun little sides. So yeah, I'm really happy with this. I do have this extra week, like I've already gone over several times, but I'm going to try and smash through my midpoint and do a couple extra chapters. And yeah, I'm really enjoying this. I'm really glad that I decided to get organized and focused, and have this deadline that I'm working towards. It's really made me more motivated, and it's made me enjoy writing a lot more. And yeah, I'm having a lot of fun. So I consider this a win, even though we didn't exactly achieve our goal. I think we really got quite close, so that's good. And I'm also learning my limits, which I think is important when you're starting out, to learn what you can and can't do in terms of your energy levels and how long you can write for, so that you can find the right times for yourself and different ways you can motivate yourself to try and maybe smash through some of them. But then you can't overwork yourself. So yeah, do your thing, interact with all the buttons, and update me on your writing journey as I continue to update you on mine. I'm going to bed.